Hey, what time do you think it is now? He asked. Looking at the clock, it's only 5:30. It's still 5:30. Why are you up so early like this? I replied with sleepy eyes, but Bradley kept on relentlessly. What do you mean it's still 5:30? It's common sense for the wife to wake up earlier than the husband, wear makeup, and prepare breakfast. My heart sank hearing such shouting in the morning from Bradley. I felt like I'd been transported back in time. His words stung like lines from a mean mother-in-law in some outdated TV drama. Since marrying Bradley, we have separate bedrooms and absolutely no intimacy at night. Then one day, Bradley collapsed at work and had to be rushed to emergency surgery. While waiting outside the operating room, my stomach knotted as I heard a young doctor scream, "What on earth is this?" Through this surgery, I would come to learn Bradley's shocking secret and also how trapped I truly was. Now I realized that I could not continue living this way, and with support from unexpected places, I finally reclaimed my true self. My name is Eleanor. I'm a 42-year-old homemaker helping with a small business. Before marriage, I worked as a caregiver at a hospital in Portland. I loved my job working with elderly patients, but I was the only unmarried one in my circle. Both my parents had passed away years earlier, leaving me alone in my small apartment with mounting pressure to find someone. Then, one evening at a dinner party hosted by mutual friends, a man approached my table. "Is anyone sitting here?" That's what the man who would become my husband, Bradley, said as he pulled out the chair beside me. Bradley is 3 years older than me and runs a small metal fabrication company. As we talked, I learned he was also single without any prospects. We connected immediately as two mature adults navigating life alone in a world of couples. I had hoped for some romance to blossom that night, but instead I simply agreed to see him again and headed home early. After that, we began dating, meeting once a week. Our dates with Bradley, serious and reserved as he was, consisted mostly of quiet conversations in coffee shops or walks through neighborhood parks. Still, I found myself drawn to his seemingly dependable character, until our third date changed everything. Considering our age and situation, it doesn't make much sense to date without purpose, right? Watching Bradley fidget nervously with his napkin, my heart raced with anticipation. Well, you see, we've only been dating for less than 2 months, but since we're both established and compatible, I was thinking maybe we should get married. "What do you think?" he said. It was certainly an unusual proposal, but with my biological clock ticking loudly and believing Bradley was genuinely good-hearted, I answered without hesitation. "Yes, I'd be happy to marry you." Bradley's face lit up with unexpected delight. Since neither of us had parents to please, we skipped the ceremony and simply filed the paperwork at City Hall. I quit my caregiving position to help at Bradley's company, beginning what I thought would be a fulfilling partnership. Instead, it became the start of my slow disappearance. From our first meeting until our courthouse wedding, there had been no physical intimacy between us. I assumed Bradley, being old-fashioned, was simply waiting for marriage. I believed once we were husband and wife, we would enjoy a normal married relationship. My hopes were shattered on our first night together when Bradley made a startling announcement. "I'll take the master bedroom. Eleanor, you'll sleep in the guest room." His statement hit me like a slap, and I couldn't hide my confusion. "We're going to sleep separately? As newlyweds?" When I questioned this arrangement, Bradley didn't even blink as he responded coolly. "I have trouble sleeping with another person in the room. It's just how I am." Though deeply disappointed, I didn't want to fight on our first night as a married couple, so I swallowed my objections. The next morning, I had set my alarm for 6 o'clock, but was jolted awake by Bradley's booming voice. "Hey, what time do you think it is now?" Looking at the clock through bleary eyes, I saw it was barely dawn. "It's only 5:30. Why are you up so early?" I mumbled, pulling the covers around my shoulders, but Bradley continued his barrage. "Only 5:30? It's a wife's responsibility to wake up before her husband, put on makeup, and have breakfast waiting. That's just common sense." My chest tightened hearing Bradley speak this way. What century was he living in? But when I looked up at his face, I saw an expression I'd never witnessed before, cold, demanding, almost threatening. My instincts screamed danger. So I quickly dressed and hurried to prepare his breakfast. Though we maintain separate bedrooms, we still eat together. Sitting across from each other at the dining table one July morning, I noticed something odd. Despite the summer heat wave gripping Portland, Bradley wore a heavy long-sleeved sweater. My brow furrowed with concern as I offered to help. I can get your summer clothes ready this weekend. Bradley nearly choked on his coffee, coughing violently before rushing to explain. No need. I dress like this year-round. I'm extremely sensitive to cold, you know. With all the air conditioning these days, it's easy to catch a chill. His explanation made some sense, but his panicked reaction seemed strange. Still, I had no reason to press the issue further. Since then, my days follow a strict routine. Though I help at the company mornings, Bradley insists I return home early to prepare dinner. He leaves detailed instructions for meals, cleaning, and laundry, leaving me no time to breathe even when I'm home all afternoon. I scrub every surface, meticulously fold clothes, and prepare elaborate meals before Bradley returns. I even must bathe and change before he walks through the door. Bradley never lifts a finger around the house. I understand he's busy managing the business, but even small gestures of help would mean so much. Yet I dare not complain. His anger flares too quickly, too intensely. One evening while chopping vegetables, tears streaming down my face, the question echoed in my mind. Why did I even get married? No intimacy, no companionship, no joy. Just endless servitude. I wasn't just unhappy. I was vanishing piece by piece. My phone's sudden ring startled me from my thoughts. One of the office administrators sounded panicked. Eleanor, it's an emergency. Bradley collapsed at the warehouse. The ambulance is taking him to Portland Medical Center right now. My body went numb at the news. The administrator quickly gave me details as I grabbed my purse, thanked her, and called for a taxi. I arrived at the Portland Medical Center and was directed to the emergency treatment area where Bradley had been taken. I was instructed to wait outside the procedure room, so I settled into a chair placed against the wall. My hands trembled slightly as I clutched my purse, uncertain what to expect. The door swung open, and a confident-looking physician about Bradley's age emerged. I stood up quickly, my heart pounding as I approached him. Excuse me, I'm Eleanor, Bradley's wife. How is my husband's condition? Mrs. Parker, yes. Your husband is stabilized, but he'll need immediate hospitalization for surgery tomorrow morning, he replied. I see. Thank you very much for the information, I said. After completing the necessary admission paperwork, I left without seeing Bradley. I should have stayed by his side. That's what a loving wife would do. The medical staff probably thought I was heartless, but I simply couldn't force myself to sit with a man who felt like a stranger despite our marriage certificate. The emotional distance between us was too vast to pretend otherwise. The following morning, rather than arriving early to support Bradley before surgery, I timed my visit to coincide with the surgery's start. As I sat in the waiting area outside the operating room, sudden commotion erupted from within. Oh my God! What on earth is this? Keep your voice down. What's the problem? I heard the attending surgeon speaking firmly to someone who sounded much younger and clearly distressed. But doctor, I've never seen a tattoo this elaborate. The entire back. It's a complete demonic scene. What should I do? The younger doctor said. It doesn't affect the procedure. Focus on the patient, not his body art, the other doctor said. My mind raced trying to process what I just heard. A tattoo. Bradley had a tattoo? And not just any tattoo, but something significant enough to startle a medical professional? The pieces started falling into place. The separate bedrooms, the long sleeves even in the summer heat, and his panicked reaction when I offered to buy summer clothes. I sat frozen, connecting dots that suddenly formed a clear picture of deception. Nearly 3 hours later, the operating room doors opened and 2 doctors emerged. One was clearly the younger doctor who had been shocked earlier. He was in mid-20s with expensive watch, perfectly pressed lab coat, looking like just witnessed something disturbing. The other was the attending physician I'd met yesterday, now wearing an expression of mild exasperation when glancing at his younger colleague. I stood up, my legs feeling unsteady beneath me. The young doctor immediately approached with an embarrassed look. Mrs. Parker, I'm so sorry about earlier. I was unprepared for your husband's extensive back tattoo. Collins, please. That's enough. The senior doctor cut him off sharply, but my curiosity was already piqued. You've mentioned this tattoo several times now. What exactly are you talking about? Both doctors exchanged surprised glances before the younger one spoke. Ma'am, I'm referring to the large demonic design covering your husband's entire back. The one with Demon Rider inscribed across the shoulders? You weren't aware of it? I couldn't mask my shock at this revelation. So this was Bradley's secret. The reason for our separate bedrooms, his strange behaviors, the wall between us. The senior doctor maintained his professional composure. Please excuse the commotion. The surgery was successful. Your husband is recovering well, he said. Thank you. May I see him now? I asked. Of course. He should be awake. I'll have a nurse escort you shortly. After a brief wait, I was led to the recovery area. Bradley lay propped up in bed, the hospital gown revealing just the edges of what must be extensive artwork around his upper shoulders. When he noticed me, his face hardened with obvious discomfort. So you've discovered what you weren't supposed to see. I never wanted you to know about this. Why are you even here without being called? His hostile tone stunned me into silence. I couldn't even manage a basic. How are you feeling? Bradley was clearly more concerned about his exposed secret than his health or my concern. Though I couldn't see the full tattoo, the edges visible at his neckline hinted at something elaborate and dark. How had he imagined keeping something so significant hidden from his wife forever? The question burned in my mind, but this wasn't the moment to press the issue. Bradley maintained a sullen silence, refusing to meet my eyes. The young doctor, checking Bradley's vitals, looked between us with growing confusion. Aren't you going to ask how your husband is doing? His question hung awkwardly in the air as I struggled to find appropriate words. Bradley suddenly spoke up, his voice cold and dismissive. Eleanor, if you don't have anything useful to do here, just go home. Excuse me? I asked with a surprised tone. Your face looks like you're at a funeral, and I don't need that energy right now. If you understand, just leave, he said in a cold tone. The young doctor's eyes widened at Bradley's cruel dismissal, and he looked between us with undisguised confusion. He was surely wondering what kind of marriage he was witnessing. Fine. Since there's clearly nothing I can do here, I'll head home now, I replied. I turned and walked out, following my husband's callous instructions, feeling the doctor's bewildered gaze on my back as I left. On the walk home, I couldn't bear returning to an empty house filled with Bradley's demands. I ducked into a small bistro near the medical center, picking at a sandwich while my mind raced with questions. As I stepped out into the evening air, a familiar voice called from behind. Eleanor. I turned to find Dr. Thompson, Bradley's attending physician, approaching in a charcoal suit with his tie loosened. Hello, Dr. Thompson. Thank you for taking care of Bradley today. I began expressing gratitude, but he gently interrupted with a concerned expression. I initially thought Bradley had found himself a wonderful partner, but something doesn't quite add up here, does it? His direct approach startled me. He seemed to know Bradley beyond a doctor-patient relationship. What do you mean by that? I asked. Forgive my directness, but your behavior struck me as unusual. Typically, when someone's spouse collapses and requires emergency surgery, they're glued to their side, not leaving the hospital minutes after paperwork is complete. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. I apologize if I've caused problems for the hospital staff, I said. Miles shook his head emphatically. That's not my concern at all. What struck me was your genuine surprise about the tattoo. It suggests there's a lot he's kept hidden from you. My curiosity piqued immediately. You seem to know something about Bradley's tattoo? Dr. Thompson nodded, his expression turning reflective. Bradley and I go back further than he realizes. We were classmates in middle school in Portland. Around 8th grade, Bradley fell in with a motorcycle gang called the Iron Demons. He practically vanished from school, riding with those guys instead. Dr. Thompson explained how Bradley had gotten the massive demon tattoo across his back as part of his initiation, designed to intimidate rivals and mark his loyalty to the gang. I was student council president then and couldn't stand seeing a classmate throw his life away like that, Dr. Thompson continued. Dr. Thompson described how he'd actually infiltrated the gang, trying desperately to pull Bradley back to a safer path. Bradley, please come back to school. These guys are heading nowhere good, Dr. Thompson had pleaded before the entire group. His intervention earned him a savage beating from the gang while Bradley watched. Despite this, Dr. Thompson noted with a hint of satisfaction, Bradley eventually did return to classes and even graduated high school. I stood there stunned, trying to reconcile this wild teenager with the controlling, buttoned-up man I'd married. He clearly doesn't remember me from those days. I'm glad he eventually straightened out and built a business. But his treatment of you, his wife? That's another matter entirely. Even to an outsider, it's obvious this isn't a normal marriage, he said. My face flushed with humiliation as I stared at the sidewalk. I'm mortified that strangers can see through our charade of a relationship, I said. Dr. Thompson gently shook his head. Eleanor, you're not the problem here. Bradley is clearly neglecting you emotionally, possibly in many other ways too. His words resonated deep within me, validating feelings I'd been suppressing for months. For reasons I couldn't explain, I felt I could trust this man completely. Was it his profession, his calm demeanor, or simply finding someone who saw through Bradley's facade? I'm sorry, Dr. Thompson. I shouldn't burden you with our personal issues. Please, call me Miles. Right now, I'm not here as a doctor, but as someone who cares. Back then, I confronted Bradley about his destructive behavior out of principle, but now I have different reasons to be concerned, he said. I couldn't quite decipher his meaning. Different reasons? Miles offered a gentle smile, his eyes warming. That's a conversation for another time. For now, just know that if you ever need to talk about Bradley or your situation, I'm available to listen. I might be able to help more than you realize. Something about his genuine concern broke through walls I'd built around my unhappiness. I found myself pouring out everything. Our meeting at the dinner party, our hasty marriage, the separate bedrooms, the morning demands, the controlling behavior. Miles listened intently, his brow furrowing deeper with each revelation. Something isn't right here. What exactly was Bradley's motivation for pursuing you? He asked. I honestly don't know anymore, I confessed as tears threatened to spill over. The simple act of sharing my reality with someone who believed me felt like removing a heavy weight from my chest. I understand now. Leave this with me for a while. I may have some ideas, he said. Guilt flashed through me for involving an outsider in my problems, but it was quickly replaced by profound relief. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of hope. With Miles' support, I felt stronger about confronting the truth of my relationship with Bradley. The following morning, I returned to Bradley's hospital room determined to confront him. Miles had texted me that Bradley's condition was stable following surgery, giving me confidence to seek answers. When I entered the room, Bradley was awake but deliberately facing the window. He refused to acknowledge my presence or make eye contact, maintaining a childish silence. Despite his cold shoulder, I stood my ground at the foot of his bed, my voice steadier than I expected. Why did you hide this from me all this time, Bradley? A tattoo that large would eventually be discovered. Did you plan to keep separate bedrooms forever to maintain your secret? Bradley remained silent for several long moments. Finally, he muttered in a voice barely above a whisper. Because I thought you'd leave me like all the others did. What do you mean by that? When I pressed him, Bradley reluctantly opened up about his past relationships. Every woman who had discovered his tattoo had ended things immediately. He explained how hard he'd worked to cultivate the image of a respectable business owner. No one would suspect the community businessman had a massive demonic artwork spanning his entire back. The tattoo was intimidating, a fearsome devil with demon rider emblazoned across it, marking him as someone with dangerous connections. If you only went down that path in middle school, why keep the tattoo? Why not have it removed when you decided to change your life? My question triggered something in Bradley. His eyes flashed with unexpected anger as he snapped. I don't want the damn tattoo removed. Ever. But why keep something that contradicts everything about your current life? I asked. Bradley avoided answering my question, suddenly shifting the focus. Wait a minute. How do you know about my middle school days? I never told you anything about that time. I heard it from your former student council president. Does the name Miles ring any bells? I said. Recognition flickered across Bradley's face. Why did you pretend not to know him? Miles risked everything trying to help you change your path. He was beaten because of you. He clearly remembered you, yet you couldn't even acknowledge him or thank him for what he did. He helped you turn your life around, I said with a strong voice. Bradley's expression shifted to confusion. What are you talking about? I straightened out because my riding buddy, Jason, died in a motorcycle crash. I promised myself I'd live better for his sake. This tattoo is our brotherhood memory. We got them together the week before he died. The truth about the tattoo finally emerged, but his dismissal of Miles' efforts bothered me deeply. Miles went out of his way to help you despite being attacked by your friends. It's terrible that you act like his sacrifice meant nothing, I said again. Shut up. Why are you constantly taking Miles' side? Do you have feelings for him or something? Bradley's accusation hung in the air between us. I felt no guilt whatsoever about his jealous outburst. What right did he have to jealousy in our loveless arrangement? It was time to get to the heart of the matter. Do you have any feelings for me at all, Bradley? Why did you really want to get married? Tell me the truth. Bradley seemed caught off guard by my directness. I stared at him unflinchingly, making it clear I wouldn't leave without an honest answer. Come on, just say it. I talked on and on. Fine. Look, I lost both my parents within a couple years. There was nobody to cook or clean or handle all the household stuff. I figured I needed to get married to have someone take care of those things for me, he confessed. The brutal honesty of his confession hit me like a physical blow. I was nothing more than a convenient replacement for his mother, a housekeeper with a marriage certificate. Without another word, I turned and walked out, my vision blurred with tears of anger rather than sadness. As I stepped into the hallway, Miles was waiting. He guided me to a quiet corner of the lobby, safely out of Bradley's earshot. It went exactly as I thought it might. He admitted he married you to be his housekeeper, he said. Yes. He didn't even try to deny it, I replied. Are you ready to move forward with our plan? He asked. Absolutely. I nodded firmly, ready to implement the strategy Miles had outlined for this worst-case scenario. For the first time in months, I felt in control of my own destiny. 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Today marks Bradley's hospital discharge, though I haven't visited his room once since our confrontation. Despite knowing he was coming home, I've been consumed with responsibilities at the company. During Bradley's absence, I stepped into the role of acting president, handling contracts, payroll, and client meetings that couldn't wait. Even with Bradley returning home, doctor's orders require several weeks of rest. Each morning, I prepare his meals for the day, leaving detailed reheating instructions before heading to the office until evening. Our already distant relationship has grown even colder, with minimal interaction between us. The silence is actually a relief. No arguments, no demands, no criticism. This emotional distance serves my purposes perfectly as I execute the plans Miles and I developed. About a month after Bradley's return home, his health sufficiently improved for him to make an appearance at the company. The moment he stepped through the front doors, Bradley froze, his eyes widening at the transformed space. I watched discreetly from my office as confusion spread across his face. What the hell is going on? Where are all the machines? The workstations? Everything's gone, he shouted. Hearing their former boss's voice, employees gathered in the reception area, forming a somber semicircle around him. Thank you for everything you've done for us, Mr. Parker, all the employees said all together. What's happening here? Bradley looked desperately from face to face, seeking explanation. The employees exchanged uncomfortable glances, silently debating who should deliver the news. Finally, Tom, our senior fabricator of 15 years, cleared his throat. Sir, the company has been merged with Devon Industries across town. We'll all be starting at their facility tomorrow morning. What? I never authorized this. How could this happen without my knowledge? Bradley's shocked voice echoed through the nearly empty building. Recognizing my cue, I emerged from my office and approached the group. Bradley, I apologize for the surprise. The merger happened rather quickly while you were recuperating, I said. How could you do this? A company merger requires the president's approval. My approval. This is completely unacceptable. Bradley's face flushed with rage, veins visible at his temples. Under normal circumstances, yes. But our situation became complicated, I replied. I retrieved an envelope from my blazer pocket and removed a photograph. It showed Bradley in the employee changing area, his shirt off, displaying the massive demonic artwork covering his entire back. This was taken by Michael before he left last month. He was working late and saw you changing. He believed his company president might be involved in organized crime, so he consulted with other employees, I explained. Bradley's face drained of color as he stared at the image. The tattoo was concerning enough, but there's more. Since our marriage, you've delegated all your actual responsibilities to me while disappearing during business hours. Several employees observed you at the Golden Palace Casino when you claimed to be meeting clients, I continued. The evidence of Bradley's gambling had been easy to collect once I knew where to look. The employees were ready to resign en masse until I presented the merger option, which preserves their jobs and benefits. One of the senior technicians stepped forward, unable to contain his frustration any longer. How could we continue working for someone like you? You dump all your responsibilities on your wife while gambling away company money. And that tattoo. What kind of legitimate business executive has a giant demon branded across his back? It raises serious questions about your character and connections. All the employees nodded in solemn agreement. Bradley's face paled as he stammered. No, that's not true at all. It goes beyond business, Bradley. A man who can't even respect his own wife has no business leading others. Suddenly, a voice came from a man. Miles strode confidently into the room, his sudden appearance causing Bradley to step back. Miles? What are you doing here? This doesn't concern you. Actually, it concerns me greatly. I personally arranged this merger with Devon Industries, he said. What the hell are you talking about? Bradley asked in a furious tone. I stepped forward and explained. Devon Industries is owned by Miles' brother, Daniel. When Miles realized how unhappy I was both at home and work, he proposed a solution that would protect the employees while giving me a fresh start. Miles had recognized my trapped situation from both personal and professional angles. After learning how Bradley treated me at home and neglected his company responsibilities, Miles had crafted this plan to address both problems simultaneously. Bradley, suddenly realizing the full extent of his predicament, shifted to a desperate tone. Miles, could I speak with you privately? Maybe there's a position for me at Devon Industries? The room fell silent as Bradley resorted to begging for employment. Every employee stared in disbelief at this sudden display of subservience. Miles sighed deeply and placed a firm hand on Bradley's shoulder. That won't be necessary. The employees can stay where they are. But it's time you released Eleanor from this sham of a marriage. She deserves so much better than what you've given her, he said strongly. Bradley spun toward me, panic flashing in his eyes. Eleanor, you're planning to leave me? How am I supposed to manage without you? What about the house? The meals? Everything? My heart raced as I finally spoke my truth without fear. I refused to continue this one-sided arrangement any longer. I'm not your mother or your housekeeper. You're a grown man who needs to learn to care for yourself. My voice remained steady as I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. These are divorce oaths. I've already signed my portion. Bradley's hands trembled as he took the envelope. Divorce? No, wait. You can't just leave. Even if you're fine with this, I can't survive without you. I don't even have a job now. Miles crossed his arms and addressed Bradley firmly. That's exactly the problem, Bradley. You only think about your own needs, never considering others' feelings. Perhaps some time alone will help you develop the perspective you're lacking. Bradley stood speechless, his body actually shaking as the reality of his situation sank in. I felt a strange mixture of pity and relief watching his world collapse around him. I've already accepted a position at Portland Memorial Hospital, returning to caregiving. I can support myself perfectly well without you, I said firmly. And so, I divorced Bradley and left behind the house that never felt like home. I returned to caregiving at Portland Memorial and found a small apartment nearby. Initially, working alongside young nurses made me feel my age, but free from my suffocating marriage, I rediscovered myself. Bradley stayed in the house while his former employees moved to Devon Industries, leaving his company an empty building. My route to work passed his house, where I soon noticed regular shouting matches extending late into the night. "He moved a girlfriend in right after you left," Mrs. Chen, my ex-neighbor, explained. "Said he couldn't possibly live alone, didn't even know how to use the washing machine." Bradley had quickly found another housekeeper, treating her exactly as he had treated me. Their arguments escalated to thrown objects and broken glass echoing through the neighborhood. I imagined his tattoo had been discovered again, creating additional conflict. After 3 months of disturbances, police involvement led to Bradley's eviction. His girlfriend left simultaneously, taking whatever valuables remained. I spotted him recently sheltering under cardboard in the park. Without a home or employment history, his future prospects looked bleak. Meanwhile, my professional life flourished with a promotion and significant salary increase. I moved to a better apartment and bought a car, eliminating any chance encounters with Bradley. Miles and I see each other often at work, his support instrumental in rebuilding my confidence. Though hospital gossip links us romantically, I value my independence too much to pursue a relationship. I believe Miles, also previously divorced, feels the same contentment with his freedom. We've developed a friendship based on mutual understanding, a rare and precious connection I treasure deeply.